or the way we remember him.
Uh-huh.
And so before I preface the whole interview or this conversation by saying that whatever I'm sharing is the Brahma Kumaris concepts on God.
Of course, of course.
And so for us, God is a point of light.
Uh-huh.
So not only is a point of light, but there is a difference between us and people around me. And that is what I always say, I'm in the business of helping God transform the world. And so yes, the general purpose is that transformation of the world, but also individually how we are transforming the world.
I got it. So some people feel in this transformation process it's a struggle between good and evil. Heaven and hell, Satan and God, etc. How do the BKs feel about this?
Yes, there is definitely an evil. And the evil is our own thoughts. So we have the potential to have ego and greed and attachment and arrogance and lust and all of those thoughts. So when I or in greed or in lust, then I am you could say I'm playing out the devil.
But there isn't a devil
outside of ourselves.
Outside of ourselves.
The devil is our own negative thoughts. It does feel that way sometimes because it feels like there are two voices in our head, and one voice is saying do good and one voice is saying no, you should do this. But actually it's our own negativity. It's our own negativity that's playing out.
Duality, then we have a heaven and hell of being your negative self, is that? Yes.
Hell is here not only when I'm being my negative self, but hell is here when 99.9% of the people in the world are being negative. And that's what we see now, is a lot of stress, a lot of disharmony, a lot of angst about everything, about losing something, gaining something, depression, loneliness, all of that. And I feel that is what is hell.
So, but in terms of an afterlife, do the BKs have a hell?
No, there is no. We feel actually goes through ages. And so heaven for us is an age, that is, there's a time period, it starts at some point, it ends at some point. In the same way, hell is an age, it starts at some point and ends at some point. And so right now we are pretty much in the depths of it. Good news is it's not going to get any worse, but the bad news is...
So if we're having a great life right now, good news is it's only getting better.
Yes, in a way that even though we are in the depths, I feel we will see some more sliding down into more. But in a way that it's not going to be eternal damnation. It's not going to be where I'm going to, burn somewhere forever and ever and ever and ever.
So I need to clarify for those that don't know the BKs, that the BKs do have reincarnation as part of this.
Yes.
So that ties in with karma.
Right.
So elaborate on that in terms of the life lessons, karma being, I suspect, cause and effect.
Karma in plain and simple terms is whatever goes around comes around. If I am giving positive energy, I'm receiving positive energy back. But also there's karma, different kinds of karma. There's karma between human beings and human beings, and then there's karma between human being and God.
Elaborate on the human beings and God parts.
So in the karma between human beings and human beings, there's a one-time return. Whatever goes around comes around, one time. But in the karma between human being and God, and if I'm able to really sustain a relationship with God, then it increases many, many times. That I'm able to increase my return from, let's say, one time. If I do one thing in connection, I'm able to increase it from 1 to 100 to many, many times, 1,000 times return.
So the key is, I was trying to make that like forgiveness, but that's not exactly it. It's more putting your
money where you have the maximum return.
Yeah.
So yes, you have thoughts, and we all have thoughts, but if our thoughts are connected with God and connected with who I am, then I'm receiving a 1,000-time return. But we have to build it. It's not, you don't instantly get 1,000-time
You're
return.
not driving down the road and suddenly, boom, you hit the jackpot.
And no, you start from a one-time return, then you go to a 100-time return, and then a 1,000-time return, depending on how your thoughts are changing, how you're implementing the original qualities in your life in connection with God.
So the payoff of that is how well you're living in the here and now, or is it how well you live the next time around?
What is the 1,000-time return? We call it an inheritance. Mm-hmm. And I would say, for me, the inheritance is peace, the inheritance is happiness, the inheritance is purity, mm-hmm. and the inheritance is prosperity.
Mm-hmm. So that means when you're talking about prosperity, are you talking about amount of money or prosperity?
In everything, in everything, in the way I feel about things, in the way I feel generous about people. It could be also physical abundance, but also it's the way I feel about that. I don't feel
sure
miserly inside, or I don't feel I don't have this feeling of I'm being prosperous.
So prosperous in this sense is the sense of abundance, that there is plenty, there's enough.
There is enough,
good.
And also it could be prosperous, could be my virtues, mm-hmm. that I have a lot of virtues. Prosperous could be that I have a good life. Mm-hmm. Prosperous could be that I have my time and my everything is being used right.
Yeah. So it's actually also the absence of those other things, such as greed and avarice and the like, and unhappiness. Is that correct? I mean, the better you trade up, the less you have of the negative things.
Right. When we talk about this 1,000-time return, right, the reason why it takes time for us to build from one-time return with God to a 1,000-time return is it takes time for us to remove these greed and attachment and ego from our lives, and as we keep removing them and becoming purer, the return gets more and more.
So within fundamentalist Christians, they have "you're saved" at some point, and it tends to be once and for all, though some would argue, no, you have to keep working at it. Do the BKs have that? You get to a level and you don't slide?
Yes, you're saved from your own negativity, actually.
Okay, so you're saved in terms of, but you still have to maintain the practices to maintain that level of purity.
Definitely. It's not possible, because what's happening is we really are in a world where everything is breaking down around us. And so we have to work harder to keep our purity going. Mm-hmm. And so it's not, you don't have to work hard all the time, but you do have to keep at it. So it's not like you can give up and say, oh, I'm saved. But saved for us, so we do have something about, we don't use the word saved, mm-hmm. we call it, we have two words which we use, liberation and liberation in life. Mm-hmm. That is, we have liberation from our what is going on, our negativity, our sorrow, but also while being in life, while we are living, that we can be liberated from our sorrows.
Mm-hmm. So that doesn't mean that you never have a disappointment. It just means that the sorrows of this is a bad time, I feel like I'm in hell. Is that right?
No, disappointment is the way your perception of the outcome.
I got it. Yeah.
But if your perception of the outcome is everything is good, then there is no disappointment.
Got it. Which comes back to attachment.
Exactly. So if there's no attachment, then there is no disappointment.
So it seems to me, in a Buddhist tradition, that the lack of attachment and having good thoughts, and that's basically, that runs through a lot of spiritual practices.
Right, it does. But we also in the Brahmakumaris stress give a lot of importance to having relationships with God.